to some folks recently having to do with what VAs in Nigeria and maybe other countries need to understand about what people who are international expect you to do as a virtual assistant. Ring a bell, Brett? The issue that we're facing is, and I'll use an example in Nigeria. Princess and I were talking about it earlier, and you've heard her talk about it probably at other times. But in Nigeria, if a meeting starts at 8 and I'm there at 8, I may wait hours and never hear from the individual because coming at 11 is fine with them, despite the fact that they said 8 is the time. There are cultural expectations in Nigeria where that's okay. It's not in the world I live in, or the world Brit lives in, or the world any international person who needs a VA lives in. And it's not just about VAs, it's about doing business outside of your own country on an international basis. What I don't remember whether I mentioned this here or not, but Brit has already made it clear she doesn't have enough time in her day to do what needs to be done, nor do I. Your job, regardless of what you're selling, is to recognize that fact. And if you're a VA for a person like Brett, you need to understand that she expects you to have everything put together and locked down before you bring it to her so she can look at it in 2 minutes, say that's fine, gain confidence over time that you're the person who's going to deliver that all the time, and trust you to do it without her at some point. You need to make yourself indispensable. I'm talking about VAs, but it's any product you sell if you're selling abroad. You need to make yourself indispensable to the individual who is your client or your customer. So these are some steps to help you understand what that means to me, Brett, and anyone who's accustomed to doing things or who lives outside of Africa. The first is under promise and over deliver. In America, we have a phrase in corporate America that would you rather be a hero at budget time or at report time? You want to make people happy about what you're going to do only to find that you were unable to do it, and at the time when you're expected to deliver, you haven't? Or would you rather undercommit for what you know you can do and then achieve more than what you committed to? Now, you may lose a client, you may lose a customer if your commitment of what you can achieve is not in line with their expectation. And there may be some wiggle room to negotiate that. But in general, do not, do not commit to doing something that you can't achieve, or you will lose the client. Period. Now or later, you'll lose the client. When you're delivering something like content, proof what you've done, proof it again, and reproof it. There's an expression I'm familiar with, has to do with the fabric, with fabrics or installation of anything. Measure twice, cut once. Measure the length of the table that you need to replace, and then measure it again so that when you cut the piece of wood you're replacing it with, it fits in the area, rather than finding that you didn't measure it correctly and it doesn't fit and you have to throw away everything you've done and start over. So whether it's that or spelling or grammar or names or dates or phone numbers or whatever, go through it a second time and a third time so that you can make sure that it is absolutely bulletproof correct. Verify every instruction was completed, compare against the original request, make sure when you ship sesame seeds that the bags are full to the level of what you promised. Look at it as if you were a client. Is it complete? Is it professional? Would I pay for this? Never send anything immediately after finishing it. Whatever it is, whether it's sesame seeds or content that you're producing or a garment that you have designed for a client. Once again, measure twice, cut once, and then be sure that what you've done is what you want it to be. And if it isn't, throw it out and start over again if you can't modify it. Meet every deadline. International employers expect punctuality. If you're German or Swiss, you really expect punctuality. If you're American, you might be willing to give a couple of minutes, but not much more. When you say you're going to do something at a certain time, deliver it at that time. Or if you're going to be at a meeting, be there 5 minutes early. As we say in America, if you're early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. Make sure that you comply with those expectations, counter to any cultural feeling you've learned throughout your life in Nigeria. Late is unacceptable. When our daughter was growing up, her name is Karen. When Karen was growing up, she's our youngest of three. She and I used to get into some battles because if her curfew was 11 o'clock, she needed to be in by 11, and she'd come in at 2 minutes after. She would explain that it was almost 11. And my point was, I have no way to measure whether you've complied. If you come in 2 minutes after, is that okay, but three isn't? Is three okay? But if the time is 11 o'clock and we agree on that, then we both know that's how you'll be measured. Same thing here. Punctuality is critical. But if for whatever reason you have to delay, not because you were caught in traffic, not because you didn't get moving early enough, but if there's a legitimate reason to delay, communicate that. Make sure that the person who's expecting you to be on time or deliver on time knows it because they're going to be there waiting. And your failure to get there or give them what they need on time is going to affect their life. And in lives of people like Britt, me, and most international clients, we don't have the time to waste. I remember years ago, decades ago, gosh, everything in my life goes back decades. We had a really important prospect, and their office was a mile from where I lived. We had a team that had been working for a couple of months, and the meeting started at 8 with the clients for our presentation of what we had done. And I gathered the team together about 2 miles away from their office to have breakfast. Met at 6 in the morning, and we had breakfast and talked about what we were going to do. Then when the time came where we were supposed to be at the meeting, got in the car, drove, and traffic on the place where we needed to turn left was horrible. So we got to the meeting 6 or 7 minutes late. And at that time, we used an overhead projector where you would connect the computer to this projector. And I got into the meeting, and as I was setting up the projector and the computer, I said, "I'm really sorry we're late. The traffic was really bad." And this crusty old senior manager who was in the meeting responded to me by saying, "Should have left earlier." And he was right. And I've never forgotten that. We didn't get the business closed. Did we lose it because of our inability to be on time with people who were bound and determined that time was essential, or some other reason? I don't know. But we lost the business. And it could well have been because of what I said. We just were 7 minutes late, but that was late. When you get messages from a client, WhatsApp has a way in my case, I get so many WhatsApp messages that often I don't see messages because they're farther down on the list, and I'm not quite sure why they don't appear earlier. Still not certain about that. But when you get a message from a client, respond quickly. I look at WhatsApp multiple times an hour. I don't look at my email as much anymore because so much of my communication is on WhatsApp, but I should. Look at every messaging system you use to communicate with your clients and respond quickly. So if you can't complete it immediately, tell them that. Tell them when you'll be able to do it. Or if you just see the email or the WhatsApp and say within a few minutes, thanks, I received it. I'll begin working on it today. I should have it by 5 o'clock or by first thing in the morning. The ability to gain confidence and respect and trust comes from simple things like that, often overlooked with people in Nigeria who I deal with. I have a young woman from India who I've worked with for 10 years. She just recently moved to the United States with her husband. She did something so pertinent from the time we began working together. I would say, all right, Shruti, I'd like you to do A, B, and C, and do C this way. And she would say, so what you want me to do? And she would repeat back to me her appreciation, her understanding of what I advised her to do until we both could say, yes, that's exactly right. Until I could say, that's exactly right, Shruti, we would continue to communicate until until she understood exactly what I was saying. That's a really, really good thing to learn so that it's kind of the measure twice concept, so that I'm certain she understands. And there rarely are mistakes when you do that. Failure to have that engagement can create mistakes because people see what you're saying through their own lens, through their own preconceived notions, through assumptions they've made that may not be valid for what you're talking about. Keep detailed notes. Whether you keep them online or keep them on a piece of paper in a notebook, keep detailed notes. So you need to go back and confirm something. You can say, all right, I remember we did talk about this on January 5th, and my notes say A, B, and C. Perhaps we miscommunicated. You never want to say to a client, you were wrong, ever, even if you know they were. It's always a miscommunication. I'm sorry. Apparently, we miscommunicated. What can I do to fix it right away? And those notes will be helpful, especially as you get toward my age, where your memory isn't as spot on as it used to be. I got a call from someone this morning who needed me to address something. And I spent an hour trying to figure out how to do something I didn't know how to do. I solved it by getting onto ChatGPT and having ChatGPT walk me through it. Walk me through it, screenshots I would take, put it back into ChatGPT. It took me an hour because it wasn't something I knew how to do. And the person who asked me to do that could have done the same thing. As a virtual assistant or as someone delivering product, you want to help the client solve a problem. First of all, if they don't have a problem, a pain point, a need, you have nothing to sell them. It's only when they have a problem that you can address do you develop the possibility of a new client. So we all solve problems in what we do. But if you're working with someone on a consistent basis, think ahead. I remember when I was young, I have no concept of doing manual labor. Not that I'm afraid of it, but building something, putting nails into boards, I can do that. I don't like to do it. I have done it. But when I was 12 or 14, my father was doing work in our basement. In America, we often have basements below ground where we can create another basically another home, another set of rooms. And my father was working on that, and he would be up on a ladder asking for my help, and I would be standing there. And when he said, I need a hammer, I would hand him a hammer, but he wanted me to think ahead, knowing that after he got done holding this board up, he was going to need a hammer to put a nail in. My mind just didn't go there. My brother was much better at that. That's why he became an engineer. But you want to think ahead of what it is your client needs. Once again, VAs for sure, but similarly, if you're selling sesame seeds, you want to think what else might be on the agenda, what else the client might need, what else can I think of to offer him a way to do his job more easily or to do it better. Respect time zones. I mean, I've had calls in the middle of the night from people in Africa. Even when I turn my iPhone to do not disturb, I found that that's not the way to shut off WhatsApp calls. So I don't mind people doing that. I don't answer unless it's someone I know but desperately needs me. But be sure to know what time zone you're in, and you can do that in a variety of ways. Schedule your meetings appropriately, and be sure that you respect the time zone of the people you're talking to. Respect confidential information. Whether it's stated or not, the work you do with your client is proprietary and confidential and should be maintained that way. Don't talk to your spouse about it. Don't talk to your best friend about it. Don't talk to the colleagues in your company about it if they don't need to know. It's confidential between you or whomever you and your client has determined needs to see the work. Learn to write professional emails. ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Perplexity. I could give you a dozen platforms. All write really, really well thought out content with proper English grammar and proper spelling. As someone who is unfamiliar with English, that you can speak it, but may not have absolute control over it, create whatever content you want and ask ChatGPT or any other platform to clean it up. Or open ChatGPT and tell it what you want to create and have the platform do it for you. And then tell it how you want it to be modified. You can say, I want it to be more humorous. I want to use a metaphor. I want it to be with language appropriate for astrophysicists or for someone who has graduated from the fourth grade. I want more humor. There are a myriad of ways you can modify it to make it more or less professional, more or less casual. ChatGPT and all the other platforms do that for you easily. Do not fail to take advantage of that. Ever. I run my stuff through it all the time, despite the fact that I'm pretty good at grammar and I'm pretty good at spelling. When you've finished a task, don't just send a file. Call and alert your client to the fact that you've done that. I sent you this document. Be sure to take a look and let me know if there's something more I can do. Or I sent a proposal to you. It's on email. Be sure to check that out. That oftentimes will save you someone being disappointed in your delivery because you didn't think to tell them that it had been delivered. So confirm the task completion, be proactive. Once again, VAs or otherwise, what can you do to make yourself indispensable to your client? VAs look at it one way, people that are delivering garments or we're delivering help to people in need, like both Ema Grace and Britt do. Whatever you're delivering, garments, sesame seeds, always think ahead to see what else your client might need. You got to keep in mind, it's really important, and I teach this in the course that I offer that's coming up soon called Selling Clarity, and Selling Bootcamp. When we sell, we're not really selling, we're solving problems. The process of proper long-term relationship building selling is to identify a need. If you're selling beautiful garments, custom designed, like Ruth is, ask your customer, ask your prospect, tell me what kind of styles you like. Tell me what length you like on your dresses. Tell me what the nature of the prints are if you're looking at African prints. Do you like bold prints? Do you want more subtle prints? Where is it you plan to wear this? Ask whatever questions are pertinent to whatever product you're delivering to gather that information. And once you know it, if you can't serve the need, tell them. You're better off not doing a poor job because you're really not equipped to do that than you are selling it when it shouldn't be sold. Hold on just one.
No, please, this is not my first time. The second time.
This is your second time. Okay, welcome. So are you part
Book of records for having the most certifications, but he's not taking them just for that. He's taking them because he wants to learn. The internet provides you immense, never could be achieved opportunities to learn more about your business, your whatever work, whatever career you've chosen. So take advantage of that. Those are the last two comments that I have to make. I'm so sorry. My wife gets confused driving these days, and she forgot her phone and was at the wrong place. So that's what took me so long. I apologize for being away, but I always know that Princess has my back. So thank you, Princess. And I'm quite confident that what you offered and what you other individuals offered was invaluable, regardless of whether I have been there or not. So any other comments, questions, issues you want to discuss about your business? I'll stop and take a moment to make a point. And I don't mean this to be judgmental. I mean it to be informational. One of the comments I made when I talked about what people do in Nigeria that's cultural and needs to be addressed if you want to do business internationally is when something starts at a certain time, be there at that time. I know you all have other things to do, and I understand that those may take precedence, and I don't have a problem at all. But if you think when Princess says we start at 6:15 in Ghana, 5:45 in Ghana, if you think that means we're going to start at 6:30 or 5:47, you're wrong. So for those of you who were not able to be here earlier, you missed the whole conversation. And that's a shame because I know they're separate from me. There were a lot of wonderful bits of insight and information that were passed. If you've had other commitments, I'm not faulting you and I'm not judging you, but you need to realize that when we start at 1/4 of whatever the hour is, WAT, it would be 6:45. That's when we start. And good stuff happens from the minute we start. And if you're not there at that time, you lose out. And I hate to have that happen. So, Princess, yes, you raised your hand.
Yes, Chairman Dan. We would love to have a copy of your presentation. Maybe you put it on the WhatsApp group. Is that okay with you?
Of course.
Okay.
If I forget, remind me.
Okay.
So,
You know how easily
good evening,
I do.
everybody.
Hello, Ajibade.
Good evening, everybody.
Welcome,
It's
my
nice to be
friend.
here
Good
with
to
you.
see you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much for the insight and the information. I really want to comment or to talk more about the important issue you raised about late coming. It's really unfortunate that that's the reality in Nigeria, which is really unfortunate, as Mrs. Deshide had mentioned that. It is even said, it is said that even when you make announcement of an event, they usually, or they usually add a comment saying African time is not allowed. So it has been, it's just like a culture. So I don't know, really, we have a princess who is, I think most of us here, we're Africans. I don't know if that is really the case in most African countries or is peculiar to Nigerians. But to be sincere, it is really a challenge, a big problem here in Nigeria. That someone needs a special, you need to discipline yourself. You need special discipline to keep to time. So, and yeah, we really realize we are a lot of people. We really know that is not the best. That's not the way, and we're trying to adjust. We're trying to adjust. And thank you very much for calling our attention to this once again. And this makes us understand better the importance of keeping to time, particularly when it has to do with dealing with the international client, particularly from Europe and America. So thank you very much, sir, for this. Secondly, sir, I recently began to explore AI, and I would like you to advise me on how to go about it, the different AI platforms I should start with, or how do I go about the learning AI and learning the use of AI.
Okay.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Ajibade. As always,
You're welcome, sir.
very well thought out comments. You guys have a bit of a problem in Nigeria because culturally, Africa time is fine, and you've grown up with that. I remember when I was at GEF 2024, the meeting was supposed to start at 9, for example, and it started at 10:30. It's like, what's going on? I knew there was no reason to delay it. There was no logistical issue. And that's when I first became aware of that concept of Africa time. Princess gave me that name for it earlier as well. So you're dealing with a cultural issue, and that's why I've never fault anyone about it because culture is inside of you. It's innate, but it's important to understand. And I really Mexico is the same way. There are other places besides Africa. In Mexico, they call it mañana, which means tomorrow. It'll get done whenever I feel like it. The Bahamas are the same, but I don't understand. Let's say I'm Sumi Smart Francis, and I'm expecting Brit to show up at 9 o'clock. And she doesn't show up, this would never happen. She doesn't show up until 10:30. What do I do as a Nigerian? Do I just do other things waiting for her to drop in? I don't understand how that process works, but it does. Culturally, it does. So, Britt, are you going to tell us what happens?
I can tell you what, you don't wait anymore. And nobody is waiting for anybody. Um, so they are just, you don't have times anymore. You maybe say at 9, that means maybe I'm coming in the morning, or you say by 3 means I maybe come in the afternoon. So, but everybody does what he's doing. And when the person is there, then you get notified, and then the person has to wait until you are ready. Maybe 10 or 15, but you don't have these sharp times anymore. And you don't bother yourself. You just focus on your own work, and the people come and they come.
And hopefully you're at the place you're supposed to be when that person arrives.
No, when the person is arriving and you're not there, then it's bad luck. It's easy.
Well, and so the net effect is it's a very inefficient process and a process that needs to change if Nigeria is going to start evolving to capabilities and to achievements that they're capable of achieving. It just isn't going to work.
But
Isn't going to work.
I need to defend Nigerians. Sometimes it works very well. If I want to do any construction work, I'm always finding work. I'm always finding people who are doing the job in 2 to 3 days, and that's amazing. And in our very well structured world, you can't get people getting the job done
Yeah.
because they tell you an appointment in 4, 5, 6 weeks, and that's horrific. In Nigeria, it's really you have the money, you want the work done, the people are coming. And that's awesome.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's a
And
very good
I
point.
don't think, to Ruth, to your comment, I don't think it's sad and embarrassing because it's customary for you. And as Britt says, there is a payoff, there is a benefit. It's a
Very.
structure, it's an unstructured environment that you guys have learned to work around. And God bless you for it. And as I say, I don't judge anyone for anything they do culturally. It just happens, but it minimizes the benefits you're able to achieve if you want to work outside of that unstructured environment.
If you want to work outside that, I tried to work with the government in Nigeria. We tried to have a regular meeting. It was impossible. The whole initiative was destroyed in 3 weeks because simply the people didn't come to the regular call, or they were driving, or they were with their homes cooking or whatever. So the meeting was impossible. So structured, some things are impossible, but on short notice, these things are very good. But international can't work.
Internationally, it doesn't work. I'll tell you my own personal example. We had scheduled a meeting with 13 of us from the board of GEF with the president of a country to be unnamed, not Nigeria. We waited 5 hours. 5 hours. Long story. But anyway, yeah, I mean, that's kind of the norm, and I get it. Relative to your other question, Ajibade, I would pick whatever platform you like. The kind of the best one people used to believe to start with is ChatGPT. I don't like ChatGPT anymore. It doesn't, if I say I want you to do this, it more recently comes back with something other than this that's not even close. And I have to say, no, what I wanted you to do with this, and it'll come back and say, oh my gosh, you're absolutely right. I didn't do that. Well, why? What was so complicated when I asked the first time? So I find it unreliable in some instances. And that's why the platform I would choose is Claude.ai, CLAUDE.ai. I think that's the one you and I were working on. It is extraordinary. If you just want to play around with AI, that would be a good platform to use. If you want to do research, like if you were want to do research on the strengths and weaknesses of I don't know what the proper term is, but beekeepers in Nigeria, and you wanted citations about that, the product is called Manus, MANUS.ai. It will create this beautiful research document with citations. Most people aren't doing that. But I would start with Claude, and just remember, when you're using it, let's say you're using it to create a document or to create content, and we'll work on that. You can tell it exactly the nature of what you want. I'd like it to be professionally done. I'd like it to be humorous. I'd like it to be casual. I'd like it to be with a language that an astrophysicist would understand, or a teacher of sixth grade English, or anything. So start using it, put stuff in that you're interested in, and keep digging deeper. You know, if you're looking for the names of beekeepers in Ikari, I think it was, right? In Ikari, ask it for that. And they give me more information. Tell me more about this company. Tell me why they're competitive. Tell me what their strengths and weaknesses are relative to my business. Kind of like what we were doing the other day, but dig deeper. Ask for more. Give me more information. What if I expand to Akure? What beekeepers are known in that area? How do I compare with those in Akure? Tell me more about what makes them good. Why are they differentiated? Whatever it is that comes to mind, ask the question. You want to act with AI like it is the smartest person on the planet. Because in many ways, it really is. But don't just give it a prompt and go away. Here's another bit of information. I do AI work for financial advisors in America, huge financial institutions and smaller advisors. I did a research on what it is, how well AI is working in the financial industry. And it came back with some really good statistics on that. And I wrote a paper on it using Manus. The thing that is most important, what it says, is do not just experiment. Right now, you can experiment, play around, try this, try that, try that. Maybe you want to put together a course for people who want to learn beekeeping. Give me an outline of a course on beekeeping. Write a paper on beekeeping. Just do those kinds of things to play. I call that experimenting. You'll get some useful stuff, but it's more experimentation. Then what you want to say is, what is it I want to achieve? What do I want to improve in my business? How can I strengthen, expand my business? And what is a plan for doing that? So I'm going to do this each time I have a meeting or each time I have a customer or a conversation. I'm going to follow this pattern. I'm going to come back after my meeting and write notes into whatever the tool is and ask it to tell me how what their interests are, where I can be most effective in helping them, or anything like that. I can't come up with enough ideas, but a structured process, and then do that every time you have a meeting. And then at the end of 30 days, compare what you're able to do or how much more you know or how much time you've saved compared to what it was that you were doing previously or how much more effective your messaging is, for example. Yeah, Brett.
My problem is this is wonderful ideas, but Perplexity has just eaten all my credits last time. And I'm wondering what AI are you recommending? What is kind of a free because people don't have the money to buy so much. So I gave up on Perplexity because I couldn't manage it not to eat my money.
Yeah. So they're all free for a while, up to a limit. So one of the things that I would advise you to do is when you've done something, when you have created something in a thread that's meaningful, ask it for a summary. Take the summary off of Perplexity and enter it into another service like Gemini and say, starting with this, let me ask you some more questions. And worked with Gemini until you run out of its credits, and then go to ChatGPT. Do the same thing. If you get a summary of what you've done, you can move from platform to platform. Oftentimes, like with Claude, I have the $20 a month service, but if it were free, it would tell you when you've reached the limit, and it will give you a little more time after that. So ask it to create a summary of what's important, take it offline, and then use it in another platform. And oftentimes in Claude, your credits are done for a day, but it'll tell you at 6 p.m. your credits will restart. So use the free part of every system. Perplexity is expensive and Claude is expensive because they do some pretty amazing things. I mean, Perplexity gathers results from a lot of different AI platforms. For example, Claude just introduced a new service that takes twice the number of tokens because it does it so much better. But you can determine what service you want. I don't know about the free version of Claude, but you can, with ChatGPT, you can pick whatever, not whatever service, but whatever version you want to use. But ChatGPT, for people that are just new, nothing wrong with ChatGPT. Just understand if it gives you answers that are not in line with what you're seeking, ask it again in a different way.
Okay,
Princess?
thank you.
To add to that, you can ask it to give you a memory transfer dosa, so that if you have two accounts, if you have two emails, you can do maybe ChatGPT two accounts. And if you're working on one account, memory transfer dosa, you put it into the other one, and you'll be able to work. It has the memory of everything you are doing from the other side, and you continue. So it's like your own personal second brain.
So you would
So
have two different accounts for
Yeah.
ChatGPT?
But the same thing you are doing on account A is the same. It's like twins. You have two
So you
two
do that with two
accounts.
different emails, right?
Yes.
So
Yes,
then you
that's
ask
for
you ask ChatGPT A to do a memory transfer?
transfer. Yes, memory transfer dosa. I'll put the spelling of it on the WhatsApp group.
Yeah, that's great to hear.
I
Yeah.
did do
So
that.
that's some of the tricks that as a starting VA, you can't afford to pay for these AIs. You use that to build, then you'll be able to pay because the paid one too is quite good. But to begin with, we start this way.
And I used ChatGPT for free for a long time, and I'm doing it again because I spend most of the time on Claude, but I do many things specific to ChatGPT. And then there are all kinds of other things that you can do that certain platforms are better for, but you don't need to worry about that right now. You're not going to want to record something and then have someone else overlay their voice on it, or you're not going to want to create a clone of yourself using AI. Those things are all possible. So as you expand your use, you can even say to ChatGPT, I want to do this. What platform is best? It'll tell you. It'll tell you honestly, without bias, Claude is the better platform, or go to Manus, or use Gemini. So, any other comments?
Yes.
Is that good, everybody?
Yeah, that's good, sir. Thank you, sir.
You bet. And if you need more insights, reach out to Princess. She knows plenty, or she can coordinate a meeting with me. It'll take a while to get on my schedule many times, but if it's really crucial and you need my help, tell Princess. She may be able to help you. And if she can't and she knows it's crucial, then she'll reach out to me and coordinate a way to get to it faster. My goal is
I
to
will do
help you
this, sir.
guys grow. I want your businesses to flourish, and I want you to enjoy what you're doing. And I have limited time, but anything I can spend, if you need me badly, I'll find a way.
Highly appreciate you, sir.
You bet. So thank you all for contributing. Anything else that we should chat about? Thank you for the hearts. All right, then we'll go ahead and close this meeting, and Princess and I will jump into the WhatsApp group and see you there for 15 minutes. Oh, it's already 37. All right, so we'll be there for 10 or 15 minutes. If you want to share what you do or offer suggestions, that's the place to do it at this point. So, closing the meeting and see you all there.